Well, hello there, folks. Welcome to part 3 of my first guitar rebuild. I apologize for the way part 2 ended. I knocked the camera out of the stand and then bumped my head on the bench when I went to pick it up off the floor. It was an abrupt ending, to say the least. So, here we are, we're back on the bench. As I told you before, there is a steel rod in there. It's about like this right here. And it goes right from the back, right up to about here. That's where it ends. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to glue another one in on top of it, okay? And I'm going to clamp it in there. It's going to stick up a little bit, and I'll file that off after. I'm not worried about transferring it across this joint because I'm going to shim this and glue it in anyway. So that will be nice and strong when I get done. I'm hoping that this will actually help from string pull and forward bow and help kind of hold it together. I'm going to use epoxy glue like super glue. Well, not super glue. Clear Gorilla Glue is what I'm going to use for this. And should work good. It'll at least give me some more reinforcement in the neck itself. I did look over the brake that I had glued previously when I was really young, and that's holding really good. There's two dowels in here too. It's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see one there, and there's another one on this side. It's an odd way to do it, but I'm sure it was easy in the factory and they got them on the shelves quick. So let's get right to it. I'm going to glue this in, clamp it in, and we'll let that dry. And while I'm doing that, I'll probably start measuring up for wedges to wedge this up and glue this as well. And then we'll worry about the fretboard and all that stuff. We'll refret it and we'll glue it back on and that kind of thing. I'll glue it back on before I do the refret for sure, just so I can see what's going on with the fretboard, and that'll kind of help me determine the tang width, whether I need to compress it to make it do this, or just, have the tangs so they fit in snug but not super tight, so that way it just keeps it straight. We don't want too much back bow because this isn't a ton of string pull on this little guitar, so we're going to use light gauge strings. I think this will help, though. I really do. It's better than nothing. They had a little stick of wood in there, which is basically nothing. But I could use some of this maybe, for shimming here across or something. We'll see. I'm not going to just discard of it yet. So let's get some glue in there and get it clamped up. Okay, folks, so we're going to get some glue in here, get this bad boy clamped back together. I've cleaned the slot out pretty good, and we're going to get a little squeeze out here, I'm sure, but that's okay. We'll clean it all up when we get done. I'm going to put a little bit of glue over the end of this existing rod too, and I might even fill this cavity in as well, just for strength. Okay, that should do it. So let's get our piece of rod in here, and we're going to go right about there with it. Maybe this way a little bit more. Okay, good enough. Now what we're going to do is wipe off the excess here, and I just don't want to get it on my clamps and stuff right yet. And this will kind of help from gluing your clamps to the guitar. So here we go. We're going to clamp this. Let's put one I think right here would be nice. Okay, that looks good. That little piece don't bother me sticking up. And I think we'll do one more right here. I'm going to use a C-clamp with some cork padding. These are just drink coasters. I buy them like 30 at a time on eBay or whatever. And it just keeps things from denting your guitar and scratching it. Even on this guitar, which is pretty much totaled. I'm still trying to protect the neck. I don't want dents in the neck because it just feels awkward to play like that. Okay, that's going to stay. That looks pretty good. I may put one more back here too. Alright, so I got one more clamp. I don't think it's going to hurt anything putting one more on, so let's go for it. The better that's pushed in there and the straighter it is, the better it should work. Okay, so that's what she looks like with another rod in it. And I'm going to probably do a few different lifts of glue in here just to fill this cavity. It's not going to hurt a thing. It's just going to help reinforce it. You know, that's part of why this bent. It just had a big cavity and the rod wasn't really big enough, and it just didn't quite do its job. So we'll put a little more glue in. This epoxy style glue will harden nice and hard. I'm going to do the same thing here and behind this because I want that end of that rod hooked in there really well too. And we're going to just stop right there. Okay, so that will take care of the neck. We are going to address the fretboard issue here pretty soon. I'll pull the frets out of it and get it ready for refret. So while this is drying, I think that'll be the next step. Okay, so I got my homemade fret wire pullers, I should say. A set of pliers that I ground down really thin, and they work pretty good. This is the only set I've ever used, actually. You can buy nice ones too from like Stu Mac or somewhere. There's one. But what I do is I try to start this on the end. Okay. That one's being stubborn. These are probably glued in. Wouldn't surprise me, so we may have to heat these too. Sometimes with inexpensive guitars, they just pound them in. They don't glue nothing. Just makes the work go faster. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing. Just working my way across each one of them. And, well, again, some of them just are tough to start. And once you get them started, you just let the pliers do the work for you. I'm going to have to spin them around to try to get a little sharper bite here. Okay. Alright, so I got it started. I'm going to spin these around. Again, a lot of times it's better to heat these up. Although I don't see any glue on the fret tangs or anything, so not that I can tell. Looks pretty clean to me. I know that's hard to see, but there you go. There might be a little glue in there. It's hard to tell a lot of times. In any case, it don't matter. They're coming out, so we'll just press on. Oh, boy, that one does not want to start good either. Okay, there we go. Again, it's hard to get this on film at a really good angle so you guys can actually see what's going on, but this is about as good as I can do. And again, I'm just holding my pliers flat onto the fretboard. I'm not really using a ton of force. Once you get these started under the fret wire itself, like that, they'll just keep prying it up and lifting it up as you go by just squeezing the pliers together. And so far, so good. Not a lot of chip out, which tells me they're probably not glued. If they were, they didn't use a lot of glue, you know. It was just a little touch here and there, maybe. Sometimes frets can be a real bear to pull out if they're too low and worn. like the old Gibson Zero frets from the 70s. I refretted a Gibson Heritage for a guy that had those, and I mean, there's really nothing to even grab onto. They're so low. Alright. Again, some of these stat a little hard, but once you get under the edge, you know, usually you can just munch your way across. Let the pliers do the work, like I said. Yeah. Okay, so we got a few more left. We're looking good, though. I've had fretboards that took hours to get the frets out of. I mean, sometimes they're easy and sometimes they're not. Depends if they're glued. It slows you down if they're glued, because you actually have to take the time to heat every fret wire, you know, with a soldering iron. And that gets the glue hot and allows you to pull them out. But if they're not glued, not everybody glues their frets in either. It's, you know, kind of a personal thing for the builder. And it depends on what wire you use. If you use really good fret wire, there's really no need. But I like to do it just that, you know, it just keeps stuff kind of intact, so it doesn't return to the shop when the frets lift or they dry out because somebody put it by a wood stove, which is normally the case. They don't oil the fretboards and stuff. It, you know, there's all kinds of factors involved. So gluing them does kind of take some of that stress away, at least in my opinion. Oh, that one does not want to move. Let's try it from a different angle. Maybe this side's better. There we go. There you go. Sometimes you just got to try on the other end of the fret. And sometimes not. Like this one. Yeah, I got it statted. The main thing is you don't want to rock your pliers back and forth or side to side. That will just, these little tangs that go in the fret slot, okay, that hold the fret wire in, they're embedded into that wood, okay? So when you pull that out, usually you get a lot of chips on each side of the line. These aren't bad, actually. Come out pretty good. And this is a 0 fret, so the nut would be where my finger is, and the 0 fret just allows the strings to rest on them, and it works pretty good. It's easy to intonate, I think, that way too. Okay, guys, that's part 3. I'll try not to drop the camera this time, but that all went good. We'll let the guitar dry up, and I'll clean this fretboard up and get it ready for refret, so we can do that, and should be good to go. Okay, guys, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it, and I really apologize for the way the last video ended. It was literally out of my hands. Okay, guys, thanks again. We'll see you real soon. Be good. Okie doke.